Hi, and welcome to the Writing Biz, where we take care of the business of writing. We are following up last week's conversation on branding with Carolyn Capern with this week's topic. Your platform is the book that holds your story. Our guest today is Don Stevens of Merge Publishing, and I'm going to let Don tell you a little bit about himself. So, Don, how are you this morning?
Great. Thanks for having me. Thanks,
Good,
Laura.
good. Would you
Uh,
like? Go ahead.
sure. Basically, I've had Finger Lakes copywriting for a number of years, where I do marketing, press releases, and websites for company, and I've been writing as well. And we just started Merge Publishing, me and a few other writers, where we publish books and help authors along the way. It's a small independent publishing house, and we are accepting submissions right now. So if you have a manuscript that you've had hidden away for a long time, just send me an email about it, and we'll be happy to look at it.
Awesome. Don's on vacation in North Carolina, so it was really nice for him to step out of his vacation a minute to join us. I think the first question that many authors have is exactly what is a platform? How would you define a platform from an author perspective?
From an author perspective, it's basically having yourself, having everything you need all organized into one area. For some authors, they may have a website, they may have their blog somewhere else, they may sell their book somewhere else, somebody else has a video trailer of theirs for a book. They could have their press kit somewhere else, and basically it's having everything all in one place. So if anybody ever wanted to know anything about this author, it should be all in this one platform. It has we'll go into it further, but not only a place to sell a book like we've just discussed before, but it's a bio, it's where they can learn about the story itself, how the author became an author, etc. It's a place where not only fans go, people who want to you want to buy the book perhaps to sell yourself, but it's a place also where media goes, a place where an interviewer will go and say, I want you on this blog tour, or I want to write about you in our newspaper, or where the press goes. So that's what a platform is. Basically, you have all your eggs in one area to sell yourself and your story.
That's a very good point you made too, is to keep in mind all the places that you need to get your message out, not just necessarily to sell books, but like you said, for the media, for people that are interested in learning about not just your book, but you too. And the other thing is, I really like that you mentioned, is that having everything in one place, and it really helps to keep your look and your style and your message cohesive and together, instead of all over the place in different, areas that maybe you're getting too much personal information, or your picture and your logo may not be cohesive with what you're trying to do. I think that's really a good point.
Keeping everything consistent, and I come from since I come from a marketing background in PR, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to reporters from magazines or newspapers who say, ask questions, what about this, and what about that? And they're simple questions. Have everything ready for them. The media is always looking for stories. They're always looking for something to publish. They do have that spells where, there may not be news going on. So give them something to talk about, and, the more time that you can save them, the better off you are, and the more chances you are of them publishing your story.
Yep, I absolutely see that. Absolutely. One of the things I think about a platform is a platform's a place to build a following that cares about you and what you're doing. And it's not really the amount of followers you have in any social media. Empty followers, that don't really care about what you're doing, they're just a number. They're not actually giving you something of value. So I think it's important to really go after the people that are influencers in your industry, interested in what you have to do. and people that will actually read your book.
Exactly. Go where the masses are. Someone once told me I was doing it wrong, and this is a really important piece of information I'm about to give, because I had, I don't know, over 500 LinkedIn connections in my LinkedIn page, and I was connecting with other marketers or other people who were doing the same thing, looking for more clients or talking about the industry, et cetera, et cetera. And they said, you're doing it wrong. You know, you should connect with the people who you want, you know, who you're trying to attract. In other words, if you're an author out there and you want to sell your book, you know, connect to the readers. I mean, it's okay to connect to other authors
Right.
to collaborate and to commiserate or
Yeah.
to get advice.
Yeah, you
And
have to have a balance.
don't have a balance, and don't forget about your fans. I mean, if you're trying to get your word out there and you're trying to sell your book, are other authors in your genre going to, you know, buy your book? If that's, you know, if they're part of your audience, that's fine. But don't forget about the other readers out there. And when we were talking about social media, you know, it could be where your LinkedIn connection are your colleagues, and maybe Facebook are where you connect with your readers or your fans to purchase your book. I mean, that's a smart way of using social media, and you don't have to use all of them, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, another good idea too is like in Twitter and also in Google Plus, you can separate your followers. So in other words, like in my Twitter account for the writing biz, I have one list that's all writers, one that's publishers, one that's agents, one that's book marketers, on and on and on, so that if I want to drill down into one section, I can, and that helps me kind of stay up with certain uh, areas of my business. And I think that's good for writers too, because if you really need to get out to the media, if you have been creating a list or a circle of media people, you can go right to that circle and say, here's what I'm doing, yada, yada, yada. And it makes it clearer and easier for you to get the word out instead of scattering your message all over the place. You don't necessarily want your readers to see what you're doing with the media and vice versa, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and Google Plus does a great job too, like you said, building communities and circles. Having a circle, you know, your family one, if you use it for that. I don't really talk to my family on social media. That's what the phone is for. But you can do it with media. You can do it with authors. You know, I have one for research. And you know, one for the people that I really follow, the people I look up to, the trendsetters. You know, I have like an area just where I can see what's going on with that.
Yeah, because
So,
like I was saying in the agreement, it's important to do that, to follow your influencers, and the reason is because it's not just building a relationship with them, it's learning from them. You're learning from people who are already doing it right, and that's a free education. You know, they're blogging about the right way to market your book, the right way to do this and everything, so why not follow them and learn from them?
so speaking of influencers, who are some of your influencers, Laura?
Oh, mine? Oh, there's a lot. One of my favorites actually is David Amerland. I
Oh, me
really,
too.
yeah, I really love what he does, and I love his Sunday reads. They're really impressive. Ronnie Benser I follow a lot because he helps with the Hangouts and he gives wonderful information. Nina Amir I think is great. Jane Friedman. Um, oh my goodness, the guy who does the book designer. What is his name? The book designer blog. I can't think of his name right now, but he's brilliant. So I mean, there's a lot of people that I follow like all the time, like gently
Well,
stalk.
I followed those people. I'm not sure about the book designer. You're gonna have to like add it to the comment section.
Yeah, I'll put a link in there because he really is. I think you'd really like him.
But I follow Guy Kawasaki.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Yeah.
can't. He has so many followers, I know, but
Yeah.
that's somebody for marketing. I mean, he's so much.
Another one too is Michael Hyatt that wrote.
I don't think I know him.
Yep, it's he wrote the book on platform. I can't
Oh,
think of
okay.
it right now. I have it in my notes, and they're in the other room. So there you go. But I'll put a link up for him in the comments. He's really, really good, and it's not just he's a former publisher, and then he also does blogging and everything now. He does a great, great job. His book is really one of the best ones I've ever read on platform. It's how to get above the noise is what it is. So it's really good
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of, since you mentioned blogs, we can kind of get back to the platform.
Yep.
Somebody on LinkedIn asked, and she was very embarrassed. What is the difference of what's the difference between a website and a blog? And she said, "Forgive my for being ignorant," but she had no idea, and she's trying desperately to figure out what's the difference. And we explained to her, and several other people commented, et cetera, et cetera. But what do you think? How have we evolved? From websites to blogs, and do writers all need blogs? Is it necessary? Because Kawasaki, Guy Kawasaki said, if you don't have a blog already, you could use just Google Plus as your blog. I mean, do you agree with that or not?
Yes, and no.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is, first of all, to answer the question, what website and blog, I would go back to what Nina Amir said on our show about business plans. Is that your blog is your website. So if you're using WordPress, it's all in one package. Everything's there that you need. You don't have to run all over looking for things. But as far he's kind of right about using Google Plus as a blogging platform, but I don't do that. I'd rather blog on my website and move it into Google Plus because I own my website. That's mine. I had a problem with an account where they just arbitrarily shut me down. I never found out why. I eventually got the account back, but in the meantime, I had been following that advice, and everything I had was on Google Plus. So I lost it. I lost 2,000 followers and everything that I had. Now, eventually, I got it back, but I would definitely say own your own real estate. Google Plus may go somewhere. They may decide not to do it for whatever reason. Facebook,
Facebook,
it's kind of on a downturn a little bit. So,
I mean, I had experience. I had a couple accounts that I worked for with Finger Lakes Copywriting, building their LinkedIn company page and building their separate services page. And then suddenly, LinkedIn took out those pages. You still have a company page, but they took out those service pages. After we had built content on it, we were getting traffic, we were getting followers on those pages. It's just, you don't know what's ahead with somebody else's property. Like you said, own your own real estate. Your website is your real estate. In this case, make it a blog. Make it powerful. You can share your blog content. You can share your posts with social media, with your favorite platform of social media. And if something goes by the wayside, you still have your blog. You still have your followers. You still have your e-newsletter list.
And there's great tools to help you do that. There's great tools out there that I know some are in WordPress, like Publicize, that'll automatically send that content out to your social media fields. So I definitely say own it. Don't.
Me too. Network Blogs does the same thing for Facebook that I connect with. I'll connect a blog post with, I basically syndicate it. We syndicate the blog post to Facebook and Twitter. I don't know how to do that yet with Google Plus, unless you do it manually, maybe with Hootsuite or Buffer or something like that. But automatically, there's a couple places that do it, a couple apps or companies.
Yeah, so, and one of the things when you're building a platform, it definitely is worth the small amount of money to get like the pro version of Hootsuite and learn how to use it properly, because that'll save you so much time. I mean, you could take care of your social media needs in a very short amount of time during the day instead of having to go in and out, in and out, in and out to the different sites to get your message out. It saves me an enormous amount of time.
It does. It does. And when you're talking about sharing it, sharing
Hmm.
content and curating content, using Hootsuite or Buffer or one of those programs makes it a lot easier because then you can actually figure out where you're going to share it to because you won't take one post or try not to take one post and share it with all your social media, you know, platforms out there. You could do it specifically to certain areas or certain groups, you know, LinkedIn groups, etc.
Also, too, I don't think that we mentioned, we probably should, is that when you're trying to build your platform, sit down and really get a clear idea of what you're trying to accomplish and how you're going to accomplish it, and set up a marketing plan for yourself so
Mm-hmm.
that you do it. It sounds like a lot of work, but if you do the work in the beginning, it'll make the journey that much easier. If you have an idea of where you're going and how you're going to get things done and what areas you need to concentrate on, it's going to save you an enormous amount of time. For example, you may not really have a presence on Twitter, which is, to me, one of the better platforms for writers, but if all your influence may be on Facebook. Well, on Facebook, that's great for the fans that you have now and the people you know now, but it's difficult to get new people. So you want to do something like Twitter or Google Plus to get new people. And if you have a marketing plan and you do it X amount of time every day, you'll see that that platform that you weren't involved with is going to grow exponentially. But if you just, if you do it in a scattered, oh, I'll do some Twitter today and not do it for a few days, you're not going to get the growth that you're probably going to need before your book launches.
And you don't have to have all. That's one thing we were talking about before we
Yeah.
went live. Find out what if you're. I know a lot of writers and people who are so. Uh, I don't want to say afraid, but are not so unsure about Twitter.
Hmm.
So if you're if you're this uncomfortable with it, just don't use it.
Hmm. Yep.
Use Facebook
Find
if
what
you
works for
use
you.
Facebook. Use have your business page on Facebook as author. Not your personal page. Um, use LinkedIn if you'd like. Although LinkedIn is more, I would guess, more for colleagues and for business. But if you're trying to connect with your reader, then I would say Google Plus and Facebook if you're not using Twitter already.
Right. Now, see, I don't use Facebook, and the reason is that it was a business decision in my area that I live in. They hardly use any social media, much
Mm-hmm.
less Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So and if they do, it's on a personal thing. There's really just not much business on there. So it was a business decision for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do use Google Plus, and I use LinkedIn, and I use Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and they seem to work real well for me. And I mean, I publish on LinkedIn too. I have the publisher's rights, so that's been real beneficial to me as a whole. But I think that's what you need to do is really sit down and figure out what's going to work for you. If you
And who your audience is, who you're trying to connect with.
Right. And like we said on last week's show on branding, if you have accounts that you want to use for your platform and you've been using them for personal, go in and clean them up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just go ahead and go from cat pictures to selling your book, because it's a different type of people. And,
Unless the book is about cats.
and yeah, that's right. Unless the book's about cats. That's true. That's true. But really sit down and give some thought to how you're going to do things and the most effective way to do it well. And there's all tons of resources online that can help you build a marketing plan. And a lot of them are specific to authors. Just take the time to learn it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll give you an idea of how to get things done. And don't worry if it's not perfect in the beginning. As you get more involved, you'll get a lot more comfortable and figure things out. We were talking too about using videos. I think videos is a real important part of building a author platform, not just for the book trailer, but for any type of message that you have. What do you think?
Uh, yes, I think videos are important. People feel intimidated by videos. They think they need a professional. Of course, if you can afford a professional, by all means, then go for it. If you can't afford a professional, then you can build a nice video with a slideshow. It could just be a video of yourself talking about yourself, introducing people, readers, to who you are and where you're from as a writer and what your book is about. It could be you reading parts of your book, just like a person would go to a bookstore to hear a reading. So it could be you just reading, parts of your book, a sample. So having something interactive really, really helps. And again, if you're making a video, you want it to be a snippet. You want it to be a teaser. You don't want to have a video that's 10 minutes long. People are not going to look or tolerate that. You want it to be a teaser. You want it to be a snippet of who you are or your book. They don't have time to invest in a 10-minute long video or a 20-minute long video.
No, you definitely make a good point there. Short and sweet's usually the way to go with video. But if you sit down and think about what you're trying to accomplish, you're going to come up with a lot more ideas for video, then you're going to actually surprise yourself. And depending on what your book is, you can talk about the different characters, settings, anything that can get people interested. Interview people that have lived through circumstances similar. Whatever you can do to propagate some video out there is really helpful. I found the name of that book that I mentioned. I felt so bad not remembering the name, but it's Michael Hyatt's Platform.
Okay.
Get noticed in a noisy world. It is one of the best books I've ever read on platforms. I read it a few years ago. I should probably go back and read it again, but definitely has some great information in there. He's a resource I keep going back to.
Use a video for a novel is reading parts of the story and then showing a background or some images or some other live video of the locale.
That's a great idea.
I'm considering doing a video for one of the authors that we're publishing at Merge. The book's background is in Italy, Spain, all around Europe. So taking some images there, or some live video there that I've found that are that you can get licensed and pay for, royalty free, and just maybe use the author talking about the story, reading some snippets while there's a beautiful background with a slideshow of the pictures or some video.
That'd be awesome.
Florence, or just wonderful, feel good. I mean, that could sell the book. It really, really could sell the book, and that's just one of the things that you put on your platform, which is your website. And we talked about a bunch of other things. I mean, I'm not sure, how you want to just start talking about it, or
just go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, we spend a bunch of time talking about social media, and the social media, having social media buttons. Make sure there's ways so people can connect with you on your platform. Make sure there's a Twitter button that goes to your Twitter account so they can follow you, or your Facebook or Google Plus in this world, or LinkedIn. Having not just things that they could share your work. There's two different things. When people think about social media, there's two different things. When I build websites, I always put the bookmarking tool. So when a visitor goes to your website, they can share. They can share it, and it goes to their Facebook page. The reader, they'll share a button, and it goes to their Twitter page, etc. That's one type. Those are bookmarking, sharing buttons. But there's also follow buttons, and there's two different things. The follow buttons are more for your platform. It's more for branding. So they can share your piece of writing or one blog post from your author platform or one of your posts that you're writing about, but they won't be sharing, you. They're not getting you. They're not becoming one of your followers or one of your fans. So make sure you have both.
And email too.
Yes, and then email too. Of course, have an email newsletter. Nowadays, you can do MailChimp or anything like that. have people sign up, give them a free book, give them a free audio version of your book or an ebook, when it's out. Um, Not everybody who signs up, but create a drawing. There's so many things you can do. Have a T-shirt, with your book on it or something. A pen, a bookmark, receive a free gift, or there's so many things you could do to entice them to get their email, and keep it simple. People, again, don't have time to fill forms out, their age, their sex, their last name. Just put their email out there, maybe a name and an email, and that's it. They're more likely to fill in that to receive your e-newsletter, to sign up for that, than they are if if you're trying to create this criteria that.
No, absolutely, and it's a comfort zone thing too. I mean, a lot of people are it's a comfort zone thing. A lot of people aren't they're not going to be very responsive if you ask them too many personal questions.
Yeah, and a lot of people, if they just put their email, they have several email accounts. They'll say, "Oh, I'll just use that old AOL account or Hotmail," because that's where I get my newsletters and some of my spam or something. I mean, don't feel personal that if it doesn't go on their #1 list. You wouldn't know otherwise. So. Yeah. Finding a way to connect with them, that's one thing that we try to do with platforms, and I suggest is have your follow buttons there for social media so they can follow you, and also the email as well. We talked already about video. You can have videos. You can also actually do a wonderful video with Google Hangout.
Yes.
Laura and I were discussing this. She's telling me the difference between doing a live Hangouts on air, just creating a video of yourself talking.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the tools for that, you could just do it with your laptop. You don't have professional tools.
And keep in mind too, when you're doing video, people are more interested in what you say than what you look like. So don't let that stop you. Don't let video stop you because you don't have the perfect place to do it or whatever. Just go ahead and do it. It's really the audio that people are interested in. And that being the case, I wanted to mention something we didn't mention is podcasts too. You may want to look into podcasting. If depending on what your book's message is, there may be a fertile ground for you there too to help get your word out and build yourself more as an authority.
Exactly, and I do exactly what you're talking about. Even when you're doing video, people don't care what you look like. I haven't shaved. I didn't bring my razor. I'm on vacation.
That was a smart move.
In one of the rooms, I'm in the bedroom, my guest house, which are, they're so wonderful and friendly. I told them I'm doing a video hangout, and, so I'm not at my usual writing desk. Right. I would be outside, but it's very hot.
It is there.
I thought to myself, okay, maybe I could do this hangout, and I can have the beach in the background, and sip on a nice, cool pina colada or something.
I'm glad you didn't do that. I'd be so jealous.
People are more interested in what I'm saying than what I look like or my, the background.
That's funny. Pamela Barway asked in the comments. She asked what your preferred email newsletter platform is. My personal one's MailChimp, but what do you use, Don?
It depends. I've used some WordPress plugins in the past. One that I use now and I'm comfortable with is MailPoet, MailPoet. I think it was called with CG or something like that. If you look it up under the plugins for WordPress.
Okay.
But it's called MailPoet now, and it's a great tool, and it's free until you reach a certain amount, like I think 2,000 or 5,000 people. Then you pay like a small amount, which is like $10 or $20 or something like that. But it's very, very easy to use. You can add pictures in it easily. You can add little dividers. There's a bunch of templates ready to use on it. And I've been using that for the websites I build and platforms. And it just works great. And it's very simple to use where, where you're putting the sign-up form, too. You can drop it as a widget on the side, on the left side, right side, or on the bottom, and just drop the widget there. So it shows up on all the pages, and visitors going to your platform can see sign up, and you can add also an image there and customize the newsletter sign up button. So it's really easy because
I'll have to check into that.
I find it that when I create websites and platforms, I want the user, meaning the author, the owner of the website, to be able to do things on their own.
Right.
So
And that would simplify it because everything's in the one place.
Yeah, everything's in one place, so they don't have to sign up somewhere else. And Mailchimp is wonderful. I've used that before too, but I think correct me if I'm wrong. I still think you have to sign up to get your information to go to their site on Mailchimp.
Yeah, you do.
You still do.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to look into that today, as a matter of fact.
And there's other ones, besides MailPo, there's other ones too. But that's the one that I'm using currently, and it's been pretty easy. There's some that I've used before that were working really well, and once they make updates, and WordPress does updates, and sometimes those two don't like to talk to each other or get along, so the updates make something not work with plugins. So I found that this one in particular, when WordPress makes it updates, they make an update, and it works together really well.
Yeah, I ran into that just the other day. I was getting an error, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I remembered that I had just updated a plugin, so I just took the plugin out, went back a couple of days later and put it back in, and now it's all fine. So, yeah, that's fun stuff right there.
So we decided that you can do, we suggest having a blog strongly for your website to make it a platform. And, what do you write about? You write about, what motivated you to write the story. Scenes from your book. Interesting, writer's eye viewpoint of things. You can take a shot of a flower. In my case, it would be like, this flower finding on the internet, it's poisonous, and all it takes is a couple, a stem of this to kill somebody. Because I write murder mysteries, so there's tons of things you can talk about that. There's so many different stories you can write about. Blogging is just the world. It's you have the whole world in front of you. If somebody says they don't have anything to say, it's hogwash. There's so many things you could say throughout the day. Just write them down if you have thoughts, and then later, if you feel inspirational, do several blog posts, and just time them out. Schedule them out. You can have a blog post every week. People say, should I blog every day? No, don't. No. Once a week is fine. Couple times maybe a week, depending on, if you have a launch coming soon with your book, then maybe you want that momentum going. You could, build up to that. You can blog about when you have a book writing. Book reading, book signing coming. Who got your book? It's an exciting feeling when you go to independent bookstores or Barnes and Nobles and you see your book there. Take a picture about it and blog about it.
Sure.
Your influencers. As a writer, you have other people who have influenced you. Stephen King has a new book out. Talk about that. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Be your own reviewer of other books. There's so many things. People are following your blogs and they're reading about you. So you're not just going to push your story. Don't sell yourself so much. They're not going to come back.
I saw a Twitter campaign the other day where they were using a specific hashtag, but what they were asking is their readers to take a picture of them with their book. So they would take a picture of themselves with the book and then use that hashtag. Actually, I don't think it was Twitter. I think it was through Instagram. But I thought, what a great idea, to get people interested and to give them a little, thank you for for reading the book in the first place. I thought that was pretty neat.
But you could do the same with build. That's more of a campaign
Mm-hmm.
that we could do. It's a marketing campaign, which I've asked for some authors to do if they want to build momentum about their book and such. I'm working now with new authors, so if they don't have a book already out there, it's kind of hard for them to do a promotion like that. But when you're out there already, that's one of the promotions you could do. Another one is you can ask authors with social media or write a blog post, what is your favorite character in my book?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you wish, you know, what do you think this character looks like? Especially if you don't have a description, you'll get tons of responses with that one.
Yeah, and even as you're in the writing stage of your book, you can put up questions. Well, what do you think I should do here? This is what how do you think this character should make a decision in this such situation, and on and on. There's a lot of good stuff there. I wanted to ask you too, and I meant to mention this earlier when we were talking before the show, but what do you think about if you're doing a crowdfunding campaign?
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that the platform that you build is quite a bit different, or is it all the same and you just kind of migrate into that?
Your platform. I think it depends on what you're crowdfunding for.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I've tried it once, and it was unsuccessful in regards to I raised money, but it was on Kickstarter, and when you don't reach your goal, you don't get anything.
Right.
So I do have the names and the people who pledged, so I can do it again on Kickstarter and lower the amount, or I can go to another one and do it. So even if I raise partially, it will work. But I would really depend on what are you trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's a very good point. A lot of people don't realize that going into it, that to be real careful about what platform you're using to do your funding because of reasons like that. Like I have a friend of mine that just recently went through a crowdfunding, and he was very successful. But you have to. He had a very good platform to start with. He had a very good following, not just in one area either, in Google Plus, Twitter, I believe Facebook. So he had a lot to work with there, where a lesser-known author may not have as much to work with. So I think you really have to kind of think things through. I don't think crowdfunding's for everybody.
No, it's not. It's not. You have to have clear, definitive goals for your crowdfunding, and it's not just help pay for my trip to Paris because I want to write a story about my character who's in Paris. I mean, nobody's going to do that. Right. You have to have specific goals, and there's one particular crowdfunding source. I think it's called Pub Slush. Mm-hmm. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Where for authors, and they could raise funds while they're writing the book, and that usually determines if the book gets published. I mean, you can publish the book no matter what, but it helps them with finances to publish the book. And that's out there, and I haven't tried that yet. I'm not sure if it's something for me to do.
There's another one too called Publishizer that I believe is along the same vein as that one too. Yeah. But the thing that I find about crowdfunding is that if you're using information that you're going to use outside of the crowdfunding platform, it really does help build a momentum and to keep you kind of on task. You have that short amount of time you have to get out the information. Let's say if you're promising the people who help you fund your book, copies of the book, et cetera, you can use that as a tool outside to get people in. And then also, the content that you want to give them every day. By the way, I just finished writing chapter 13, and this is what I covered in 13. You give them something to look forward to, make them feel involved. And I think that premise that you would do with crowdfunding is a real good thing to use outside of crowdfunding if you choose not to do it. Is think of ways to get people involved with the everyday writing and marketing of your book, what they may find interesting. A lot of people love that behind the scenes look, so
Oh,
give it to
they
them.
do. They
Hmm.
love not just the writing part, but their business of writing. With Merge Publishing, we did we had cover wars, which we're still planning on doing, and
Hmm.
we would have a couple different covers for an upcoming book that we're publishing, and the reader got to choose, which cover they liked. It was more for feedback, and it was amazing. The response we had was simply amazing. We had so much media attention with that,
Oh,
and
that
people
sounds like
were
fun.
just
Yeah.
talking about it virally about which covers they liked, and surprisingly, the ones that I wasn't sure about won. So,
Isn't that funny how
so
that works? Because I've got a design background too, and it's just sometimes you give a client, two or three things to choose from, and you have this one that you're like, well, I don't know about that one, but I'll give it to him anyways, and that's the one he picks.
yeah,
It's
exactly, and that's how some of this worked, and it was just amazing. But it got everybody engaged, and people were just let us know when the book comes out, and it's coming out soon. But they really feel invested in the book. They really do.
well, while we're on the subject of cover too, your cover is part of your platform. You need to really think about that it is. Not only the graphics that you put on, but the bio, the um, comments from people who have read the book or recommending the book. All of that is part of your platform too, and that's all information that you can use in
Mhm.
various areas as you go along. And I think that you
Yeah,
know,
I have this written down too that there's more stuff to cover for your platform. Testimonies are one of the things. If you have testimonies for your book uh, from your readership, even if the book's not out yet, the people who have test read the book,
mhm.
your beta readers, if they have some testimonies they can give, you can put that on your platform. There's other stuff you can do there. You can of course, sell your book there when it's done. You can do that as well. The video we talked about, making sure there's copy, really good copy on the book, SEO copy. I do a lot of SEO, search engine optimization, so make sure the headers are there, your meta tags are there.
Mhm.
Do a quick search in Google for your genre and the related keywords that come up at the bottom. Use some of those phrases, within your text. There's so many things you could do. Use bold, use italics, do some backlinking. Never forget it. Don't forget about SEO.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you that's one of the things that you build a website, you spend all this time, it can be beautiful, it can have all the correct tools, but there's no SEO. There's so many websites out there that don't even have a title tag. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll say untitled as the title. It's like,
I
really?
know. I know. Yeah. Yeah, just don't be bad. That's what you should. Try
So
if you don't know how to do it, either learn how to do it or hire somebody who knows how to
I'll
do it.
hire
Because
somebody there. Don't be afraid of hiring
that
somebody.
stuff's terrible. I mean, it's ridiculously important. You have to cross your T's and dot your I's to get the kind of traction that you want to get to sell your book. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, you also mentioned too earlier, Don, media kits. How vitally important it is to have a good media kit
Yeah,
as part of your platform.
I think the press kit or media kit, if you want to call it,
Hmm.
uh, when building a platform, I'd like to do a one page or room, call it a media room, where you have all the information about your book there. Within that, you have a bio of yourself, the author. You have a high resolution picture. If it's not there, in form, then have a link to a high resolution picture of the author, basically the one you use for the back of your book, etc.
Hmm.
An author pick. Have also a high resolution picture of your book cover, just a cover if you can. If it's not right on that page, then just a link to the image itself. Or a PDF. Has some sample chapters there. Uh, have your news release there if you have a news release, or have someone write a news release about it. Something again for the media to pick up. Have a Q&A there, sample questions. And the sample questions are, what made you write the book? What authority do you have to write the book? describe the book, what genre it is. So just imagine you're already being interviewed. And what would that interview tell you? Obvious questions. Put that in your media kit, in your press kit. And those are some of the things that the media will pick, a reporter will pick, or another blogger will pick, and look at and say, okay, they've done all the work for me. Let me just contact this author because I'm already halfway there.
Right.
I'll just ask a few more questions and I'll put it on my blog or I'll put it in the newspaper, or we can interview them, on TV or, on the blog or whatever. So make it easier for the people to correspond with you, make it easier for them to pick you up, and it makes, you're, I don't want to say guarantee, but you're definitely more likely to get picked up by media if you have everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any chance that you have to do things in a more professional manner and to make it clear what your purpose is going to get you better recognized. Understand that a lot of authors don't have social media experience, so it can be difficult when people like myself or like Don try to explain how to use social media to them. So if that's true, just take some time to actually learn about it. Look at people that are doing it right and copy them. It's not. I mean, I don't mean copy their words word for word, but copy how they're presenting themselves. Look at other authors that are successful. Look at their websites. What kind of design elements do they have? What made their website look really interesting to you? What kind of content are they putting on their website? Is that something that you can write to also? Really pay attention to what other people are doing. And it's like a free education. If you're looking at how other people are doing it well, you can learn how to do it well yourself. You don't have to know everything about everything. Just know what you need to do to make your project move the way you want it to move. Things like SEO, there's plugins. If you're using WordPress, which like 90% of the websites that are on the internet today are WordPress sites, but there's plugins that can help you with the SEO, so you do not have to be a fantastic search engine optimization expert. One of them that I have found real useful is SEO by Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, exactly. And you just plug the information in there, and the color changes from red to green. And if it's green, it's good. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you get the green light, it's good enough to get out on the web and for people to find the information if they're looking for it. Learn how to write great headlines. A super catchy headline that doesn't have the subject of what you're talking about in it is not a good headline. Get the subject, like if you're writing about platform, make sure platform's in the first couple of words of your headline. Think about how you're doing things and pay attention to how you're doing it, and not just on your blog, but when you post things on Twitter too. Think about how you're wording what you're asking of your reader or of your viewer, and also use hashtags. Hashtags are very powerful. Have a hashtag for your book that's exactly what you're trying to get out, because that stuff you can put in the hashtag later and see who else is talking about your book. You can use Twitter chats, or if you do a what do you call it? I guess that is a Twitter chat where everybody gets together and talks about things under a certain hashtag. So but take advantage of all the opportunities that you have.
A couple other things that I wanted to mention: a sitemap. So your site gets crawled by Google. And since you mentioned the hashtag, a sitemap is wonderful. Again, you can use a plugin or create your own, which is an XML file. Another great thing you can also do once you get more established, etc., or even now, if you're wondering if anyone's talking about you, is create a Google alert so with your name or your book in quotation marks. And so if someone's mentioning you online or your book, you get a notification that, because what if you get mentioned and you don't even know about it?
Right.
So you're doing all this wonderful work.
Another thing I found out that is in Google's Webmaster Tools. David Amberlin mentioned this in a show I did with him recently, and I'll post the link up in the comments so you can learn it more in depth. But it's called a highlighter. You go into your Google at Webmaster Tools, and you go to the highlighter, and it'll lead you through like 3 or 4 of your blog posts once you have all the information in, and you teach Google how to recognize things. So you click on the title in this one, the author in this one, the date in this one, and a few other things, images, and it teaches Google how to read your specific website. So it really is a valuable tool. I'll put that in the comments because that's definitely I found really useful.
Since we're talking about Google and Google
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Google authorship is something that should be done as well
Yeah.
with your platform.
Yep.
So have it automatic. So while you're building your platform and you're building your readership, if you have a Google Plus account, whatever you're posting on your blog, shows all you can win on your circle. Again, the SEO benefits are wonderful for it. So becoming a, verified Google author,
Right.
which is really simple. It's not that easy. It's not that difficult. It really helps with ranking as
Yeah, I'll
well.
put a link to a tutorial on how to do that in the comments too, because you made a very good point there. That is the Google authorship's pretty powerful, for sure. Don, did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was having a problem. I don't know if it was your bandwidth or whatever, but you like dragged for a minute there, but it cleared up. But do you have anything final comments you want to make before we
Um, yes. It should not hold it off. Do it now. Building your platform. Even if you're a new writer and the book is not published yet, build your platform now. If you can use WordPress or something similar, do not have your blog hosted on a free site. Don't have a website, your own website, and have a free blogger account. I strongly suggest that you keep your blog on your own site.
also
That's one
too,
of the
but use
things I wanted to mention.
WordPress.org, not .com, because that way you can use
Yes,
your own domain name. Yeah, a lot of people get confused by that for sure. So, look into that. But the WordPress.org is what you want to do. First of all, it's more versatile, which is awesome. You can sell your book from the site, and then you can also use your own domain name. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, don't be afraid. Start your platform now, and just and another thing, it does not have to be fancy. We talked about this too before we went live.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a designer, a graphic designer such as yourself, who has experience in building a nice site. In the beginning, I personally build sites that are versatile, SEO rich, and great with content, and they do what they have to do. They have all the great tools. Are they the prettiest site? They don't have flashy lights or beepers and anything
Right.
like that, but they work really, really well. But if you don't have to have a wonderful, fancy, beautiful, pretty site to sell your book. Having all the things there, having your press kit, your e-newsletter, things that people connect with you, building your audience, having your blog there. That's what you're trying to do. Remember, you're branding yourself. That's what having a platform is. You can always make it fancier later, add the bells and whistles, and if you can afford to do it right away, then go for it. But don't hesitate. Start now.
No, I absolutely agree with you, because it takes time to build a good platform. So if you don't have one, or if you have a low follower count or whatever, now's the time. And also too, and I think we mentioned at the beginning, but I can't stress enough to build your platform around the people not only that you want to follow, but that you want to follow you. It's better to have a lower follower account and have people who are really interested in your message that may retweet it or reshare it or make comments or whatever it takes to move your platform forward. It's more important to have those type of followers than it is to have 10,000 followers that don't care about what you're doing.
Laura, may I suggest that if you haven't done so already, like maybe a show, and I'd like to be part of it, on how to find influencers. And social media world.
Yep, that's a very good one. Yep, that's very good because actually I do have a lot of things to say
Because
on that because I do think
I
that's
still could
important.
use help with it.
Yeah, I
I
do think
follow
it's very
influencers,
important.
but sometimes they don't follow me back. So I think as a,
That's true, but at the same time,
finding
Don,
influencers, and there's certain.
that's true, but at the same time, if you think
Mhm.
about it as a learning experience, that everything that they put out is helping you learn how to be better at what you're
Yes.
doing, so that there is some value there.
Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. But on that note, we're going to head out, and I want to thank everybody for joining us for this week's episode of The Writing Biz. You can find past episodes at thewritingbiz.com, and all the episodes can also be found as podcasts on Stitcher Radio and iTunes. Next week, we're going to talk about how to just simplify and organize your social media tasks. Don, what would you like to say in closing? What are you doing now? What would you like people to know about?
We have a book coming out at Merge Publishing. One of the books is by Marcy Deal, and she has her press kit out, and we're doing a launch party soon. It'll be an ebook and a print version as well. A few other books are coming out at the end of the year through Merge, which is great. So we are looking for new authors as well. If you go to mergepublishing.com, you can submit your story, your idea, and we can get back to you on
Now,
that.
you don't have a specific genre. You cover both nonfiction and fiction?
Well, right now we're fiction, but if something comes across my desk that's nonfiction, I'll still look at it
Sure.
because we're
Okay.
still in the infancy stages. We're still trying to find our niche, so we
No,
don't
I
want to get
understand that.
locked into something
Mhm.
and just say we're only this type. We have a wonderful fiction story with a writer from Australia. We have, a couple people from the Finger Lakes that are fiction right now. So I will look at almost anything right now, as long as it's good. We're just looking for good storytelling and good writing.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, again, thank you to everybody. And like I said, you can find this on the writingbiz.com and also on Stitcher Radio and iTunes. And I appreciate you being here with me today, Don. I think we gave some great information. And it was a very interesting show. I do write an accompanying blog post with this too, so I will make sure that you get information on that. And if you want to put information into the comments, Don, on Merge Publishing and the books that you do have coming out, that would be really helpful.
Okay,
Okay. All
and
right.
the information that you use for your press kit and for your author platform, don't forget to have a little media campaign too. I forgot to mention that. Um, having a press release out there targeting some media people that you're aware of,
Mm-hmm.
some nationwide and local. It could be, local newspaper reporters, the TV stations. People are hungry for news, and if they know of a local author that's publishing a book that's coming out, they will pick it up more than
Oh,
likely.
absolutely, absolutely. They love that local connection, so you're definitely right about that, Don. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I hope
Thank you so
everybody
much
has
for
a good
having
week.
me.
No problem.
Have a great